Beautiful, beloved brothers and sisters. I'm Geeia Ariati here. I'm the Oracle for the 144 and beyond. I am of sound heart and sound mind. And I am going to blow off some distorted belief systems that keep the spiritual community in poverty, judgment, and trauma. Now, I want to share a little bit of a backstory as to why this aspect of consciousness probably irritates me the most, right? It irritates me the most because the spiritual community is not actually very spiritual. And the reason that there has been a irritation within my being about the spiritual community is because I was brought up in a spiritual household. Now, I want to share a little bit around this because I work with a lot of people that come from religious backgrounds, but not as many come from very spiritual backgrounds. They might have had a mom that was dabbling in tarot or crystals or something like that, but most parents didn't have an extremely spiritual conditioned childhood. And I would like to share what I have come to know, learn, and educate how this is just as much of an entrapment and a false illusion paradigm as any other construct of reality of human mind. Now, where this was generated from is quite interesting, is that I am in Koh Phangan. It's a small little island in Thailand, and I decided to put out a remembrance ceremony, which is a 3-hour ceremony that you can immerse yourself into altered states of consciousness, meet levels of Christos energy. It's a priestess initiation, or for those men that are in their priest archetype, or these pillars of their specific energetics that they're anchoring in through different past life healing, karmic work, shamanic work. It's an immersion into all of the realms and all layers of consciousness, with the directive to connect to the soul's energy blueprint and start to connect to the innate medicine of each individual as to why they come. So each of us come with a blueprint that has basically the fabric of who we are to be embodied in this incarnation. And those that have forgotten their purpose or are seeking their purpose have an access point in this facilitation style. Now, what was fascinating was sharing this in an extremely spiritual place, right? We have a lot of spiritual beings. There's a party part and there's a retirement village area. That the backlash that I got from this post was actually like, it threw me a little. I was like, whoa, I was not expecting that. Not that I had an expectation, as I don't do things from expectation, but when you're used to a certain response to your information and you get the opposite, it can be quite an energetic disruption to the field. So I could feel all of these projections and these judgments and this like shaming and all of these different thought forms. Mind you, this was a community consciousness page. All right. So what I'm sharing here is the distortions around this for education purposes, for the reason for you to see yourself, for you to see where you're being this, doing this, or why you may not align to certain paradigms, and for the awareness, because most people that I know judge themselves before they'll judge another if they're really truly in alignment with source and spirituality. And that is because when someone is coming from unconditional love, even if it is a distortion of love, if they've come from a place of truth, they go out into the world and they don't judge others, but they severely fuck themselves up. Now that is a truth. So what happens is that I receive all of this negative feedback and I'm kind of like, whoa, what is this? And it was, how do I alchemize all of this energy that's being projected at me as a way to recognize that I'm actually really angry at the spiritual community, That is a truth. I am angry at the distortions and the conditioning and the mutation of consciousness, the mutation of spirituality, and what I went through as a child that did not know any other way other than to go into mainstream, because I saw at a very young, early age that that wasn't the way. That was not truth. And this is where religion and different distortion paradigms will lead you in the opposite direction so that you can find the truth of what was there, but you weren't able to see it because you were in the mutations of it. And so with this, I recognize that, I actually don't agree with these constructs. I don't enjoy being in spiritual song circles. I don't like going to their ecstatic dances. I don't enjoy being immersed in that level of community, because it's not community. It's actually a whole lot of individuals with trauma masks. They've got distortions and satanic bonding that comes out through their tantric practices. There is emergence through these fragmentations that allow for a sense of false belonging, to feel connected through another narrative, no different to that of the narrative of the LGBT consciousness group of psyche. Now, I'm very aware that I speak into some things that poke in holes. I'm very aware that I am in the limelight in a way that is going to upset many. And the truth is that I don't care, because there is not enough people talking about the truth of all of these distortions in our reality. If we want to change the world that we live in, these need to be spoken to from a place of love, but from a place of, this is the truth, actually. And so when we look at this, when we look at the spiritual community, there is so many broken hearts. There is very few people in the spiritual community that know how to live in an open heart. Now, the heart space, when you look at the initiations and what that is that until you come into your heart, you don't actually know the discernment of what is truth and what is ego, what is God and what is of not God. Your heart is the point of evolution within the human consciousness that allows you to know that. It's the tipping point. So the heart chakra is so important for individuals in their healing journey. Until that heart is open, there is a lot of confusion. And it has to stay open, not open, shut, open, shut. It needs to stay open. Now, I would say that 75% of the spiritual community have not even gone into the purification of their heart chakra. They might be able to drop in through breath and through practices and safety and all of these different things, which are powerful processes. Yes, I'm not denying that. Yoga, wonderful, amazing. Tantra is amazing. Conscious relating skills, dance, movement, self-expression, all of those things are amazing things. But they are masking the hidden parts of the psyche underneath. And most spiritual people are not very conscious. They start to go into the spiritual narrative and they forget about logic. They forget about intellect. They forget to use their mind, heart coherence. So they go into the flow and they actually don't allow themselves to look at some of these different constructs and these distortions that are playing out within their reality. They either become too out of body or too emotionally ran. And so what happens is that there are projections that are created. There are projections in regards to looks. Now, I have a specific look, and that receives projections from both ends of being very spiritual or too pretty, too Botox to, adjusted to, whatever, to be spiritual. So there is a aspect around this that there is the judgment around how, if you're spiritual, you need to look a certain way. You need to wear earthy colors and beads and crystals. And you need to make sure you've got linens on and wear all organic cotton, right? These are some of the ideas that come through that get projected onto, and they create shame and judgment for someone who may want to join a song circle, a meditation, a ecstatic dance, because they don't feel welcome. Now, I remember when I went to a mother's group with my sister, and it was like a naturalist mother's group. I've never felt more judged in my life, ever. I felt so much judgment and wrongness that I left feeling this big. Now, I didn't even agree or align to their belief systems, and I still left feeling that small. Because when you judge someone for their choices, when you don't have a level of awareness, compassion, understanding, and you have a narrative of what is the right way to live and what is the wrong way, then you're basically contracting and you're disempowering people over and over and over again. And so I grew up with a narrative like this. I grew up with a very ascended, we'll say, mother. A mother that was extremely covert narcissistic. A mother that has not purified her heart chakra still and is unable to stay in an open-hearted expression. A mother that blame shifted and made you feel guilty for your choices based on her emotional response. And then projecting back that feelings are okay and you should be able to feel all of your feelings, but then gaslighting you because you've chosen something that caused someone pain without taking self-responsibility for your own emotional instability and lack of regulation of your nervous system. Now, for years and years, when I started on this path, the reason I pushed away from this path so long was because I grew up in this. I grew up seeing the masks of spirituality. I saw people justifying substances to connect to God or to expand their mind, when really it was a disassociation from pain. It was addiction, and it was a way to not meet the core points of separation of your wounding by getting out of body and connecting to some cosmic consciousness that made you feel a sense of connection for a period of time. And so because I saw, witnessed, and acknowledged this through my entire childhood, I knew that that wasn't the way. And I didn't want to be anything like that. And so if people called me spiritual when I started down this path, because I didn't have a choice, it was live or die. Live or die, Geeia. You have a choice. All right, I choose to live. That means I have to be more conscious. Shit. That also means connecting to God. Oh, God. Okay, God is spirituality. Oh. And I refused to use the word spiritual for years. I changed every possible thing in my communication and in my language so that it didn't come off spiritual. So it came off as a way of being personally developing, so that I was able to shift language and manipulate myself and others so that I wasn't in truth, because I didn't want to be seen in that lens. I didn't want to be seen in that expression because of my own conditioning and my own distortions. And that led me to people saying, oh, so you're spiritual. No, I'm conscious. It's very different. Now, it is. And that's what's very interesting about this, is that spirituality and consciousness are two different paradigms. Neither are whole by themselves. Consciousness is based on an aspect of the infinite nature of physics, science. And you could say even philosophy. You can say philosophy. So consciousness is more of the masculine expression of truth. Now, spirituality is more the feminine expression of truth. You go and you and you sing and you connect to the feminine flow. Neither of these paradigms are true until they merge. That is where truth comes from, the above and the below, where you see that your mind creates your belief systems, that there are infinite possibilities, that there is science that creates a sense of confirmation of the understanding of what perceived to be a spiritual miracle is actually not a miracle at all. It's just the fabric of the universe. That all of these dynamics, if you are able to see the parallels, connect into the fabric of what is true and whole. But whilst we have these spiritual communities, now if we look at spirituality being more of the feminine, and if we break it up in this way, then the feminine nature is more the covert narcissist. Now I'm using this for namesake interpretation. Your spiritual communities are covert narcissistic beings, and your conscious are your more overt, right? They're quite logical. There can be this superiority, there can be bluntness, rudeness, all sorts of things. Now, when you look at this from the very zoomed out, right, I'm really over exaggerating this, is that you have a sense of justification for behavior in bypassing. So in these beliefs around flow and not creating expectations, and these deflection programs of, you're just mirroring your unmet trauma on me, right? So all of these things are not taking accountability. So they don't use their masculine conscious mind. And so these spiritual teachings become that of another mask to hide the unmet wounding and the story of poverty, right? So why is most spiritual people without any financial abundance? Because they have a story that well, they have many stories, but some of the stories that around spirituality and money is that we are naturalists and we should all be out in nature, in community, connecting and living off the plants. And so there's a denial of reality. Now, reality sits up in the consciousness paradigm. Reality is the logic of the mind, of the masculine mind. Now, the feeling body, sure, you can go live out in nature and dance with the trees, but you're going to still end up in one lens of polarity, and you're not going to find truth or connection to source within yourself, and you're not going to become whole, and you're still going to swing between your trauma patterns, because that's how it works. If you sit in one lens, you'll always be bounced into the other lens to see until you choose to see yourself in truth. And this idea of certain things, certain things within our reality is not spiritual. Certain ways people look, certain ways people live, certain aspects of even the denial of technology, right? The denial of technology, because that is the problem for the world today. No, actually, it's the energy, the thought forms, and the belief systems that we're projecting into the world. Technology is not the problem. Your device isn't the problem. Money isn't the problem. Material possessions isn't the problem. None of these things are the reason that there is suffering in the world, pollution in the world, damage to the environment and to the animals. It's people's minds. It's the thoughts they think that generate the way that they see the world and how that is created. And so when you're in your feeling body and you're in this feminine flow, you miss all of this self-reflection. You miss all of this truth because you don't have the ability to see and take ownership and accountability. Ownership, accountability is a masculine trait. Integrity, a masculine trait. So the spiritual community is not able to take ownership, accountability, self-responsibility. They are emotionally driven, and they're in a delusional aspect of their thought forms that they then project onto others so that they don't have to feel the shame, right? So the feminine aspect of consciousness, which we're claiming is now spirituality in its distorted lens, is the avoidance of shame. Because when you don't want to see yourself and how you've been unkind, how you have not taken the correct processes to alchemize your trauma, how you've made others wrong for the world rather than making changes to your own environment, your own experience, your own creation. How many individuals do you know in the spiritual community that are like, I speak to guides and I'm a channel and I do this, but how many of them are getting up doing this kind of thing, exposing themselves, speaking out to the truth, creating things to change? Not many. They're all dancing naked with their tops off and peeing on trees, right? This is the truth. I might be exaggerating, but it's the truth. And how long do we stay in the hippie vibe before there is an actual, yeah, I need to be responsible for my thoughts. I need to be responsible for my energy. I need to be responsible for the words I speak to others. I need to be responsible for what I'm creating in the world. I can't keep blaming. So blame is a polarization to shame. You will blame when you don't want to feel shame. That is the feminine aspect. This is covert narcissism. The belittling, or what we would call emasculation, where someone has strength, worthiness, where they stand in their confidence, that becomes that of a projection of you're in your ego. Now, that is a part of using something to cut down someone else's power because you haven't tapped into your own. So instead of rising each other up and being like, wow, your medicine's so amazing. I want other people to see you. I want other people to experience you. I want to share your medicine with the world. How can we support each other? How can we grow together? The spiritual community tends to, for the most part, cut down people that have a sense of power and keep them in this boxed in limitation of what is considered to be their narrative. It's no different to the matrix that we live in. You leave the matrix and you go join a spiritual community, you've just joined another matrix program that keeps you just as conditioned in a different lens of perspective. The matrix that we live in as a conditioned reality from the patriarchal system is built on masculine concepts. Spirituality is the distortion or the polarity to that, which is built on feminine concepts. The fragmentation that took place to me as a child is why this enrages me so much. Because not only my fragmentation is just as intense as the fragmentation that happens to those in religious doctrine. It's the exact same. There's a sense of fear that comes up. So some of the fear paradigms of spirituality is around love and light. I was made to feel fearful around the darkness, around entities, around aliens, around the patriarchal constructs, around this reality of what my upbringing was trying to pull me out of. So there was fear. There was fear to be a part of who I was naturally, but there was fear that things would get me. There was the fear of me going to sleep because I needed to put protection around my bedroom because I might be eaten by an entity or a demon in my sleep or taken in a craft. Now, yes, there's truth to these things, but you can't bring up a integrated whole and safe individual in these thought forms. In saying that, I just want to acknowledge that my mother did the best that she could, and that the teachings that are ingrained in me had some amazing foundational aspects, things that I've had to revisit, reinterpret, reintegrate. There are beautiful core foundations to all of the spiritual teachings. Absolutely, without a doubt, I have absolute honor and respect for my mother and her journey, and all parents and every single individual being that is doing the absolute best that they can with the awareness and the interpretation of consciousness that they have. But it doesn't take away the hurt, the confusion, and the pain as a bringer of truth, as someone who's standing here to be a change maker, that my trauma built childhood, right? So when you look at the feminine, the distortion of the feminine in spirituality, we'll say, is that when you have a distorted, wounded feminine upbringing, you go into the polarity of that. So I went into the wounded masculine. That is balancing. There was a need for me to be in my wounded masculine, or in that level of false masculinity, to stay strong, to balance out the household, to be the giver, the supporter, the holder. There was all of these aspects to not be emotional, because emotionality created that. And the feminine in its wounding is a roller coaster, and there's never knowing what's going to trigger someone into an emotional outburst, never knowing what's going to be held against you. The wounded feminine, and it's no different in spirituality, it's the same. If you understand the psyche, this is what I will share with you over and over and over and over again in every single one of my videos. The wounded, fragmented psyche creates everything in your reality. If you can make the connections, you can see what these paradigms are, and you don't have to be bound by them. This is where sovereignty sits. This is where you can use your ego and your fragmentation to return into your wholeness. That's empowering. But this wounded feminine energy and the roller coaster of emotions means that you are creating instability. You know, there's not stability. There's unsafety. There is a lack of trust that you're provided for. There is a distortion of holding your own because your focus is on flow. There is a level of only having what you need, right? So some of these stories around spirituality is that when you're in so much trust, and if God provides for you, then you'll always have your needs met, but you can't ask for more. That you actually don't own that you want more. You disassociate from the fact that your human needs and your human desires are important for your human experience. That if you had more stability, more structure, and you had an awareness of a foundation of what you're building in the world, that you wouldn't have the emotional influxes that would be then moved through and projected on others, because you also can create more flow for yourself. So the judgments that are here are where I I see that our society has so far to go. We might have spirituality as a trend and altered states of consciousness and ayahuasca ceremonies and crystals and all of that, but it is just another mask. When you look at the energetics, when you look at the amount of healing work and the trauma that's been done, they're no more evolved than those that are working in a 9-to-5, that are still doing the I'm going to get married and have children to avoid feeling the pain so that I can build some level of worthiness and prove that I am someone to be seen and validate my love. That it is just the opposite pole. And so to bring a shift, there needs to be a marrying of consciousness and spirituality. There needs to be a marrying of the somatics and the emotions with the mind and with thought. You cannot be in one realm or the other. You cannot be disassociated from your body, no matter how much information you have, no matter how much wisdom you think that you hold. If you cannot ground it and anchor it into your physical being and express it and communicate it, it's useless. It's useless. Absolutely useless. Stays up in the ether. If you are unable to regulate your nervous system, if you are unable to have a foundation of supportive finances, if you are unable to have a connection of friends or community that continue to hold space for you, if you are moving through these dynamics and you're trying different practices and you're still seeking, it's because you're in the aspect of your consciousness that is not allowing you to see what you actually need to see, what you're desiring to see. You can go to as many breathwork sessions or as many yoga classes, and yeah, you might be able to elevate your vibration and stabilize yourself into a point of balance for a moment. But what happens when you leave that class? What happens when you leave that ecstatic dance? What happens when you leave that festival? I know. I see it all the time. I see people leave medicine journeys and they hit depression and suicide. I see people leave from festivals and they feel more lost than they've ever felt. They might feel a sense of belonging in that space because there's a false sense of connection or a momentary glimpse. And so the spiritual community is not spiritual in my eyes. In my eyes, there is the mask that covers an aspect of covert narcissism. So if you are receiving this transmission and you are wanting to find truth, you are wanting to find equilibrium within yourself, if you are wanting to truly heal, then go do some research on covert narcissistic traits. Go really feel into it so that you can see where you're playing out your distortions in the name of a narrative. And if you are on the opposite lens and you are repulsed by the spiritual community, and if you are into the science, the logic, if your skin crawls at the idea of people that are overly emotional or they're convulsing in their breathwork sessions, whatever that is, and you are in this science lens, then what part of you needs to connect to your feeling center, to your somatics, to the aspect of your feminine current? Where do you meet and marry the mind and the heart? Where does the mind meet the sacral and merge in union in the heart? I'm going to have a quick look here at what is here in relation to, and I'm going to say another one. one of the things that really doesn't align for me, and I hear it on all of these comments all the time, is love and light. And I'm like, oh, stop, please, guys. Don't love and light me. That is a request. If you love my content, please don't love and light me. Because it's not love and light. Love is your heart octave. Love can be received in the form of romantic. It can be received in and gifted in eros. It can be done in a platonic way. You can have love for yourself. You can be able to give love. You can orbit love, or you can receive love. But to be all three of those means opening, clearing, purifying, and staying solid in your heart center. Love is not truth. Love is not source. Love is not God. It's an interpretation of a vibrational frequency that is of source. So love and light is, if you feel that, feel the vibration. Love and light, okay? Love and light is up here. This is not centered. Love and light is up here, okay? It's a disconnect. It will not allow for you to be grounded. Feel the words, feel the vibration, feel what you're thinking, what you're saying, how you're expressing. You're creating your reality. If you have a love and light narrative, you are denying the shadow and the dark, the lack of information, the underworld perspectives, whether that be in the outer world, and there's a denial of what's happening in the world because it's too uncomfortable to look at, whether or not it's right in front of you in your partnership, and you're in a polarizing relationship and you're like, yeah, if I stay in love and light, then I can justify that it's just coming from trauma, or that bad behavior isn't, they don't mean it, right? There's these different things that comes out in just as much of this bypass aspect or complete wrongness. Being a truth seeker, speaker, knower, a expresser of God is not the love and light narrative. Now, this is another exact reason why spirituality bugs me. Is like, I don't like that I have geometry on me because people think that I'm spiritual. I don't like that I do light language, which I don't even use that word because it's not light language. It's frequency and vibration through sound of the instrument, of the divine, through the vessel that alchemizes lower vibrational expressions of consciousness. So it's light that we can interpret through sound that transforms and alchemizes the auric field, the energy body. It is not a special dialect from the Pleiades. It is not a special dialect from any of these different constellations. That's an interpretation of mine. Tell me which Pleiadian, I would love a Pleiadian, show up and be like, I can translate exactly what you just said. These are all delusions, all of them. Now, I'm not saying that I don't have connection to the Pleiades or Sirians, or the Lyrans for that matter, because I do have a Lyran Gate portal coming up. But this is why I do not enjoy having to be a leader in this, because I have to break down all of the constructs, all of the paradigms, including the spiritual ones. And so these dynamics of tools that are used to just hide, they're used to judge, they're used to deflect reality. That's what it is. It's a deflection of reality. And that is the feminine wound. Let's deflect and gaslight you out of your reality. That is covert narcissism. Deflection, justification, and a level of gaslighting. That is the extreme level of it. That is the human psyche. We'll have to do an overt narcissistic one now. at some point so you can understand the other realms. This is not just spirituality. This is the energy of the dark femme. This is the energy of the victimized girl next door that has an abusive partner, that plays into I did nothing wrong. There is the lenses of this through everything. If you want to understand reality, go understand those two archetypes, covert and overt narcissist, because we are all them. You are, I have been, and probably still have aspects of it, which I'm sure you could point out in this transmission that I'm playing on for a sense of exaggeration. That these are parts of the mind, parts of what play out and cause us pain. I'm just reading. Okay, well, so the comment there, I think people say love and light because it keeps your vibration high, right? Is it about keeping your vibration high? What happens when you have a high vibration? Is it about keeping it high or stabilized? Because if you are seeking a high vibrational frequency, you're going to have pits and falls. You're going to hit the mud. You're going to descend. This is the wave. Up, down, up, down. That's trauma. That's the entire human condition, is based on trauma of connection, disconnection, connection, disconnection. So if you want to have a life of ease or a life of truth, it's not about having a high vibration. It's not about ascending. It's not about higher mind. It's about centeredness, balance point, 0 point, union, synergy. It's not even evolvement. Evolvement's getting there, but you evolve, you can still end up there in ascension and plummeting into descension. Yes, we are evolving, but how do we want to evolve? Source-aligned evolvement? Or are we going to evolve through the trauma cycle? Because we can do that too. Your frequency will elevate, and your vibration and the octave of your consciousness will expand if you stay in a point of centeredness, balance. Not if you're seeking highs. Not if you're trying to have a love and light. Not if you're staying positive vibes only. Oh my goodness. Oh, these statements. You should just get a Tinder account and go, okay, you want to learn about the human consciousness? This means this. This means this. This means this. Because these are all tactics of a fragmented egoic construct. If you say positive vibes only, it means you've got some very dark, negative aspects of consciousness that are going to come right out as soon as someone is not in your lens of positivity. Right? Positivity and negativity are one of the same. If you're talking about positivity or negativity, you're polarizing yourself. You're dissecting yourself. You're cutting yourself in half. Reality. The reality is some things will allow you to feel a sense of a positive connection. And the reality is that there will be negative or uncomfortable experiences, that the waves of life are. And if you can find balance in those waves, it's not about your vibration, it's about awareness. It's about information being shone, illumination of the light source. is shining the light on all of these concepts. As you shine the light on a concept such as seeking a higher vibrational frequency will make you happy is a lie, then you start to see your expansion of consciousness evolving out. You become more expanded in your awareness of how to meet reality. So someone like Esther Hicks, for instance. Esther Hicks talks about the law of attraction. But there are all of these other universal laws that she does not talk about. And these are the laws that will continue to bring you into suffering. Because the law of manifestation and to stay on the feel-good flying disc means you're going to always fall off that disc. And you're always going to have to seek and find it again. You're going to fall off. And then you're going to have to seek and find again. And you're going to fall off. Now, Esther Hicks is still a trans channel. When you come into truth, you become the channel. You don't have to drop into a channeled expression of something that has a name or an identity that is separate from you. She has not evolved. She has not found her unified center because she's stuck on this one paradigm of a delusion that gives a sense of connection for a period of time until there's contrast. And then she jumps back on the high-flying disc, right? It feels good at the time. Of course it does. If I was to listen to Esther Hicks, I'd be like, oh, yeah, I feel so good. Because it's one aspect of truth. This is how these teachings work. These teachings work by giving you the one aspect of truth, but not sharing all the rest of it. So you get sucked into the truth aspect that feels good, and you want to research it, and you want to be it, and you're like, oh, this is good, but it denies all of the other aspects of reality. Even the story of the Great Awakening is Kundalini. Not true. Kundalini is one aspect of energy. I can dissect every belief system you guys have, inside out, because they're all distorted. Each and every one is distorted and focuses on one truth, focuses on one way, focuses on one energy. Your Kundalini is the energy that runs from the base of your spine, from your perineum to your crown, connects you, if you've developed it that much, to the earth and the ether. I'm a Kundalini master. I'm a Kundalini facilitator. I work with this energy. I know what it is. It is not the answer to truth. It is an interpretation of a frequency that can unlock your chakra systems. But your chakra systems are only one aspect of your energetics. You've got your meridians, you've got your activation points, you've got your plasma body, you've got your light body, you have your auric field, you have your torus field. That's just a few. Your Kundalini doesn't work in your torus field. Your Kundalini doesn't allow you to work through certain aspects of consciousness to generate chi, right? Kundalini is not your Kundalini isn't connected to your chi center. Your chi center is connected to the solar sun. It's different. That is your energy generator that sits within the physical body. Chi is where you do your Tai Chi, right? So Tai Chi is great for cultivating your chi or your fire breath, whatever it is that you want to build here. One aspect. So spirituality in our current reality, which is why none of these are holistic. Not one of your modalities, belief systems, religions has a holistic approach. And they're all fragmented. So the modalities and the things that you'll be seeing will be emergence of all of these things, because the people that are coming in and seeing this are like, oh, well, this is missing that, and this is missing that, and this isn't working in the Trinity. This isn't working in the holistic expression of that which we are. Even when we call something holistic in our current reality, it is not. And that's why so many of you are here to be the bridges. You're to see this. You're to go, right, yeah, actually that makes a lot of sense. What she's saying resonates. I may not understand it all, but I'm getting it from here. And I don't mean to sound condescending because I'm not. I'm really not. I've been it. I've done it. I don't judge any of it, but I see it, and I see where I've locked myself up in it, and I've seen where I've been in pain and trauma because of it. Because I was seeking to find something greater and didn't understand why I couldn't find that. And I had to find that internally. I had to connect to my own source connection. I had to let go of everything that I had believed in. I had to re-navigate all of the belief systems that I grew up in, that I had to see that spirituality was a lie. That everything in our reality is a lie. It has fragments of truth. How do we bring the fragments of truth together to feel whole? How do we bring the puzzle pieces? You can't just work on past lives. You got to work on your human 3D here now trauma. You got to regulate your nervous system. You need to know what your attachment style is. You need to know what your triggers are. You can't just say that it was ancestral trauma. You can't say that you're unwell and it's disease. They're all interlocked. It's all one thing. They all merge together. You need to witness yourself through multiple lenses of dimensional expressions of consciousness to find truth. Or, as the guidance has been for me, just be present. Here, stay here. If you can stay here and be present, you don't need any of the other stuff at all. It dissolves. Bye. See ya. Freedom. We are very complex beings. We are filled with mutations. We have been conditioned mentally, subliminally, energetically. We have been cut up, genetically modified. We have program after program being injected in us. The person down the street that you walk past and get a glance and get a weird feeling about has just psychically attacked you, right? This is reality. So yes, unless you are a master at staying present, you probably need to educate yourself on these different layers. I could not do that. I couldn't just stay present. Although that was the answer. In presence, you don't need to know. You don't need to complicate everything. Just be with the simplicity. I also live in this reality, just like many of you. I had to function in this reality. I couldn't sit here and just be present. I couldn't have a conversation with someone and stay in my heart space. It took so many layers, so much awareness, so much seeing, so much self-regulation, so much somatic work, so much deconditioning, so much time travel, so much past life remembrance, right? There wasn't one area. It was, I have to work on my human and my spiritual. I have to work on my mind and my body. I have to work on my spirit and the level of the earth. As above, so below. As within, so without. Always. Always. I like this question. Hang on. I'm going to go up to this one. Around food. I like this. I like it. Hang on. For sure. The importance. I feel a little activated. I like it when I talk activated because it's quite passionate, but it's also a little abrupt. So if this is your first time you've ever heard me, I'm definitely in that abrupt, like, guys, you know, when you see someone and you like, and I don't have this feeling anymore, but it's like the really subtle feeling of that, where you want to grab someone and you're like, wake up. I don't have that anymore because I've alchemized it. But it's like this micro midgen feeling of that. Like, come on, let's do this. So if you're feeling that, that is an undercurrent that's very real in my being at the moment. I am in a current point. I'm a human being still working on meeting myself in truth. I have not attained Christ consciousness. I'm not anchored or embodied in that. I can channel it, I can be in it, and I can hold it temporarily. I know it, but I am not Christ in form yet. But I will be. And so this is me not Christ in form. So welcome. Okay, so what's a holistic approach? So that depends on your level of consciousness, but if you can look at the mind, body, spirit aspect, and for most of us, we wake up, our crown chakra opens, and we wake up and we start seeing the world differently, and we want to change the conditioning, and we are angry, and we want to go in rebellion, and we want to wake everyone else up. And that's what happens, right? That's how the crown works. It's like, holy shit, I'm out of the denial. What is this world that I live in? And this world is wrong. And so that's the crown chakra. And then you go through the purification process and you work through down. But that is all mind, right? Waking up is a lot of mind. It's a lot of beliefs. It's a lot of seeing beyond the veil. It's a lot of intellectual stuff. You go down the rabbit hole. The rabbit hole does not make you feel very good. The rabbit hole often sends you into dissension portals because you're like, whoa, what the fuck? Like, what the fuck? Conspiracy theories are real. They're not a lie. But no one wants to believe that because that makes you feel really sick, right? That's the reality. How do we accept the reality? Okay, so we go down the rabbit hole and we start to feel really sick. We've gone in mind. Now we're going into body. Most people don't want to go in body, so they actually just jump out of the rabbit hole and they go distract themselves over here or go do things over here rather than, what about me feels really, really sick, or like my vibration is dropping because of all of these things. What about me is coming up? What traumas are surfacing? How do I feel this sense of terror when I hear about endochrome? How do I feel this sense of horror that there is child trafficking, or that there are cannibalism, or that our politics have taken our sovereignty and entrapped us since birth? Like, what does that actually mean to me on an internal level? How does that reflect myself? So these are the somatics that come up when we look at this. We feel it. We hear about these things. Our body's triggered. Our body's activated. If you're not sitting in neutrality hearing about it, you've got stuff to alchemize there. That's it. If you're not in full neutrality and acceptance and you're feeling activated and triggered, it's because there's things there to be moved through. And it's not to say that when you alchemize it that you accept it. Acceptance is not accepting bad behavior. Acceptance is not accepting the world is fucked up. Acceptance is seeing that this is the current reality I live in, but what am I going to do about it? What am I going to do about it? Because it's not okay in my reality for this to be happening. It is not okay for the government to be doing what it is. It's not okay for the poverty that exists in the world. It is not, I am not okay with this reality. I accept it. I'm at peace with it. And if it doesn't change, it doesn't change. But it's not okay. It's not the world I want to create. So you have the mind and the somatics. And you've got a spirit concept. Now, we don't look at the spirit or the soul concept. So the soul is that of the energy signature that you've chosen to be in this incarnation. It has your karmic footprint. It has your contracts. It has your divine counterparts. It has your health problems. It has the specific fated challenges. Now, you evolve beyond your soul. So that's one thing to be aware of. But you can't evolve beyond your soul if you're still in the mind, body, soul trinity. So this is the first point of consciousness that I would say to work in, is the mind, body, soul. Because most people can't go out as far as what's expanded beyond that point. So start there, mind, body, soul. What does this thought create? This thought creates this feeling. This feeling hurts. This feeling connects to not only my human experience, but also my ancestral and my past life. How do I alchemize all three layers of mind, body, soul, so that I'm not developed in one area, which is what happens. People that sit in their mind, they've got a really evolved, well, the spirit's up the top, sorry. Spirit sits here, and you've got mind and body. But if you are in this, you've got one pillar. If you're someone who's been in the emotions, you might have a really clean, clear body. Your body might be clear of a lot of trauma, but your belief systems are not allowing you to actually hold a consciousness within that purified body. So you're still recreating the same patterns of behavior. It's seeing that hypnosis or yoga or any of these modalities holds one pillar, usually one pillar, maybe two, but not three. So when you're going into these processes, what is it? Breath work. So what does breath work hold? It does spirit and body. Breath work is your somatics and releasing somatic trauma and opening your consciousness or your spirit molecule or your soul to altered states of consciousness. But it's not working on the aspect of, and I mean, there probably is breathwork facilitators that do this. I'm sure there is. But what was that came out? What was it before? What do you come out? Do you ever self-reflect after a breathwork journey? Do you have breathwork facilitators say, well, this construct was created and this was attached to this belief system, and I can unpack that and make sense as to why that was there. What do I need to change in my thought forms so that I don't recreate that experience again, so I don't have to clear it again through breathing? So that's the way that I could sort of assist someone who A, wants to bring in a holistic modality, or B, wants to go and do breath work. Is, okay, it's somatic and altered states of consciousness, so it's soul work and body work. How do I bring in my own aspect of mind work? How do I look at my values, my beliefs, my thought forms that somehow integrate and bring that all together? You'll find what you need to know when you sleep next time. Interesting thoughts. Get frouded. I don't even know what that is. Where is my melanin? Concepts around sleep. That's a good one. Concepts around sleep. So I don't know if anyone's on this chat, right? So this is what you'd call spell casting. So we've gone off the topic, but this is great. Well, not really, okay? Because this is a spiritual bypass, covert narcissism in a higher level of energy. So let's just look at, for a moment, what's his name? Akshara Satyam Foundation, whatever that is, right? So this is one of the ways that you can know is, so I can feel it just from reading it. If you feel through someone's words a projection of how unspiritual you are, or how distorted you are, or that you're running around with entities, or that you're doing X, Y, and Z that's you're not aware of. This is one thing that I see a lot of. And I've had people come in and say, oh, Thoth is actually a hologram and he has us entrapped in a prison matrix. Well, there's truth to that. The Thoth that has been cloned and the consciousness that does not work directly with God, source, creator. And I don't work with entities. I don't work with beings. I work with source. And then if source brings someone such as Yeshua into my energy field and it's guided by source, then I will communicate with them, because they have a connection point that maybe I haven't yet cultivated. But I do not communicate with beings. I've never communicated with anything below the 11th dimension. Will not do it because it's trickery. And so trickery is not something that I choose, because I'm here to be a truth speaker. I'm here to educate people on all of these distortions. So why would I play into the distortion? But this individual here, I'm going to, I don't know how you do it actually, I think you can block someone. So I'm going to do that because he's spell casting. So what he's doing, and I'll have to clear everyone's field for anyone who's reading this, because this is spell casting through words. So I'm going to educate you on this because this is something that happens in the spiritual community a lot. And I can see 2 people on my social media platform currently that are doing it. So I'm like, okay, I have to remove you from my platform because I have a duty of care. I can see this. So spell casting is where you have someone who's probably a little in their higher mind, right? They're disassociated from their body. So they talk in riddles. There's a riddliness that happens in the energy. There is a level of I will say making someone feel like they've gone into the darkness in some way, or a confusion energy that comes up. So there'll be confusion. There'll be a sense of like, what was that? I don't understand. There will be this, how else can I explain it? People that use words that are not full written English, right? So it's like symbols that come in together, and they dissect and cut up English language. They use things like actual powerful words like I am, or use these things and then they put a distortion or an inversion in the language afterwards, and they mix it up. And what that does is that spell cast, it actually creates inversion portals. It creates like I can feel it over my channel just from reading a couple of sentences. Now, I'm not immune to these things. I can see them and I can clear them, but I'm not immune to them because I still have areas of myself that I'm working on to be whole and complete. I'm just trying to find this. Now, see, now be good, right? So, yuck. Things like, you haven't found God. You will need to find what you need to know when you sleep next time, right? Things like this. All these words that come out they're satanic. It's black magic. It's using things like the Masonry church and using truth to distort someone's consciousness. You don't even know that your consciousness has been affected because you read it and it inverts into your mind. So I'm just going to block somehow this. Remove. How do you do it? Channel activity, go to channel pin message. Hide user on this channel. I don't know if that's the right one. So what what that is someone who's disassociated from their vessel. They're actually quite a powerful being, and satanistic energies come up. If you're not in your body, then you are a vessel for the anti-consciousness agenda, which is why the spiritual community is full of riddled with distortion. Tantric community, bleh. Because there's so many people that haven't dealt with their trauma. They're out of body, they're powerful beings. Things come up from their root chakra and work through them. I don't know how to do this. Hide user. This user's messages will be hidden. Can someone let me know if they've been hidden on your end as well? That would be amazing. All right, so we're just going to clear that energy. Taking a couple of deep breaths, breathing in from your Earth Star Chakra. So the Earth Star Chakra sits just below the Earth, and then below 1 meter down is the human Earth grids. So they are different. The human Earth grids is what allows you to feel. So it's your feeling connection to human emotion. So if you're disconnected from the human grids that are a meter down, you might find that you don't have a sense of feeling in your being. So that can be a good one to work with. So if you want to feel more in your physical body, if you feel a sense of numbness or like you're there, but you're not feeling. If that's a part, that can be a contribution there. So we're going to connect into the Earth Star Chakra specifically. And we're going to take some breaths from the Earth Star Chakra. So just under the Earth layer, we're going to breathe in all the way up to our crown and holding at the top. And exhaling out and exhaling all the way down. Back into the earth. Breathing in from just below the Earth's surface. Breathing in a little more, holding at the top. Drawing everything up when you're holding. And then exhaling down all the way into the earth again. And again, breathing from the earth. Breathing in as much oxygen as you can. Fully at capacity. Hold for as long as you possibly can and squeeze your pineal gland, your entire brain. And exhaling out when you are at capacity. You could be able to sit there for a very long time. So we're going to cleanse, clear, and purify this video of any of the demonic presence. Any spell casting that has taken place over any of these receivers, any of the receivers that have left this transmission, and any future receivers. We're going to ask to release and relinquish any entrapment programs that were taken over the mind, any projection consciousness, and any psychic attack. Anywhere the open heart has received any expressions of voodoo through fear narratives, releasing all voodoo from your energy field, releasing all aspects of anything that has been thrown through the quantum field and sending it up to source as we ask to cleanse, clear, and purify any of the religious dogma and spiritual conditioning that you may hold within your trinity, so mind, body, and soul, Ma'a ki shario orukuriatatekiana. Staying with your breath and just breathing, just allowing for these words to wash over you, not needing to make sense of them so much or intellectualize them. Breathing and allowing for your consciousness to shift from that of what is considered to be spiritual, that is what's considered to be conscious, and going into and choosing that of truth, that of union, that of oneness. No longer choosing to be pulled in either paradigm of separation. Continuing to breathe, allowing yourself to shift your frequency into stability. Anywhere that you're out of body, we're going to ask to bring you more into your body at a safe and comfortable rate. I can't just pull you into your body because that could be traumatizing to your nervous system. So seeing if you're a visual, if you're sensing, if you're perceiving, seeing how out of body you are. So I'm going to ask you to ask where your light body's feet are. And if you can sense, see, and feel where your light body's feet are, then you have an ability to know how out of body you are and work on bringing your feet to your feet. So sitting in that space. And then if you are in some aspect of dissension or in a lower vibrational consciousness, just seeing if your body, your light body could be in the earth. It might not even be in the ether. You might be down in the underworld. So just feeling, where are you? Where is your light body? Where is that? It should be right here, present. Your head should be at your head and your feet should be at your feet. But that may not be the case, and that's okay. It just means that you've got awareness of where to work on. So where is your light body? Is it above, below, behind? Getting a sense of where your feet are, where your body is. And you're going to consciously start on working on bringing it into union with your physical. Once you reach that, okay, so this is another entrapment program, is that once you reach a point where your light body is present, time travel is here now. You don't need to leave your body to journey time and space because you are time and space. So everything collapses in on each other. Time and space dissolve. These concepts of reality and these divisions do not exist. That's why presence is the only thing we need. So if you stay present, beautiful. If you're learning the way I did, that's also fine. And the other thing that I'm going to leave you with asking yourself in this moment, are we clear? No, there's some curses. So we're just going to collectively lift any curses, not from this specific consciousness that was placed, but they were activated through his behavior. So any curses over your consciousness, any curses that sit in your ancestral lineage, any curses through all time space continuum, and any curses that sit over you as a sovereign being, with sovereign thought, we're going to revoke, renounce, resound, rescind all curses, gifting them up to the violet flame, incinerating them, no longer choosing to be bound by any curses over your being, over your sovereignty, choosing and declaring in this point, at this time, that I am sovereign in mind, body, and soul. I declare in the name of God, Source Creator, and all that is, through the power invested in me, that nothing and no one can affect my Holy Trinity. And that I will live from my Holy Grail, as a sovereign human being in this reality we call Earth. I am free, I am free, I am free. And it is done. So it is. Take a couple of deep breaths to allow those words and that energy to synergize and harmonize. So what that is a declaration. If you haven't heard me talk about declaration before, a declaration is a statement of truth. Once you make a declaration, no different to the court of law, is that once you declare something in a statutory declaration, right? So it's the same thing. That is considered the word of truth. What you state as a word of truth becomes true and real. The only way that it can be broken is if you override it with another declaration or someone objects it and you allow that objection to take place. But if you declare something in the name of God, Source Creator, as true and real for you, everything within your reality has to line up to that. Now, that declaration that we just did and you being sovereign and free may take some time. It may not. Depends how much resistance you have to the statement of truth that was made, that it has to move through and alchemize. But that will become your reality. I love you. Thank you for a beautiful, beautiful conversation. I'm going to get some body work done now. If you have not joined the Lionsgate, 108, right? 108 means completion and the spiritual enlightenment or evolution. I can't remember. But 108 mana beads, right? And the 108 is a very special number. It didn't click until this morning. I was like, oh, you're so funny, Source. That's how much I don't align to different belief systems and symbology, because I will not condition my mind with these things. 111 doesn't mean the angel numbers to me. It's just like, oh, cool, nice. I've got some sequences that are here. Oh, yay, my body worker is here. All right. But if you haven't joined the Lionsgate and you would love to join that, we are halfway at capacity. You will find a link on my link tree where you can make a donation and you can receive the Zoom link. And yeah, I love you.